back. Another edition of the His and Her Money Show. And today's episode, again, one of our favorite things to talk about. We got somebody on the line who completed a debt elimination of 6 figures worth of debt.
What I love so much about her story, she says that she's hood rich.
Rich.
And that's what I love, how living in the hood saved her finances.
Well, you know what? That sounds real interesting. Let's jump into it.
All right.
Live on the line today, we have a special guest. We are joined by McClanahan from principlesofincrease.com.
Hi, Aja. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Hi there.
So you have quite the story. I mean, you and your husband paid off 6 figures worth of debt, man. That is amazing, amazing, amazing. You guys kind of took an unorthodox approach to get there. And we're going to jump into that. But before we get there, can you give us a little bit of background on yourself personally and professionally?
Yeah, sure. Personally, I'm from the south suburbs of Chicago, and I live in Chicago now with my family, 2 kids, and my husband. And professionally, I own a software consultancy. So I design and administer databases and work from home while I homeschool my kids.
Awesome. Now, you were once deep in debt and successfully paid it all off, you and your husband. Can you tell us a little bit about how did you first come to being in debt and how much the debt was actually?
Oh my goodness, where do we start? So when I was in college, I was one of those people who couldn't stay away from the credit card tables. They would give you like a free t-shirt or, a bottle
or free
of
pizza or something.
Yeah, right. So
Water bottle.
yeah, and then, I heard this mantra, your parents would say, "Oh, you have to build your credit. You have to build your credit." So I just got started in college and then had lots of student loans. My husband also had a bunch of student loans. And then when we got together, we both had car notes and just like little miscellaneous things. And then, so it was, I would say the bulk of it was student loans and then car loans. And then later, like maybe towards the middle of our marriage, I started my business and unfortunately financed a bunch of things with credit cards. So we kind of piled it on, after about 5 years. So that's where most of the debt came from.
And how much was the entire total debt?
Yeah, so I was trying to calculate it today. The numbers get a little wobbly because we were not as gazelle intense as we should have been. So we would go, sometimes we'd say, we're going to be debt free, and then we go get a car loan. So when I calculated everything, it was about $110,000. So that was between all of our car loans, student loans, business credit cards. That's the figure that we came up with. And during the time that we were paying off debt, we also cash flowed about $30,000 worth of private school for our kids.
Now, it sounds like you guys are typical because you talk about how you had this back and forth type thing. You talked about getting out of debt, and then you do something to blow that plan all up, and then back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So what was it that finally got you there to that point of no return, saying, you know what, it's it. This for real. This time is going down. We're getting out of debt today.
Well, in 2007, we were just like in a really hard place financially. Like, after having so much credit card debt with the business, and my business wasn't really doing that well, we were like literally on the verge of like bleeding out financially. We were renting a home in the northwest suburbs. It's pretty expensive. And we just figured out that we were broke, and we went to go drop off our rent check. We had scraped up our money, and just something like we just had this righteous indignation rise up in between me and my husband. We were like, we can't do this. We're not going to be renters. We're going to be owners. We got to get ourselves together. And so that's what we did. That it was not even shortly after that kind of epiphany moment that we had. It was like in November. A couple of weeks later, we moved in with my mom to be like, enough is enough. If we have to take a few steps back to take a few steps forward, let's do it.
We're firm. We are like really firm believers that the only way to get out of debt is to first be completely and utterly fed up. You agree?
Oh, yeah. We were fed up. We were sick and tired of being sick and tired. We were just like, we were so broke. And yeah, it was the turmoil. And so we just figured out we had hit rock bottom. We were like, it shouldn't, between the two of us, we should be able to come up with, somewhat of a decent brain and not have to live like this. And so, yeah, you're right. You have to like hit rock bottom and be fed up and just be like, I'm done.
We read a post over on your blog, principlesofincrease.com, titled Hood Rich, How Living in the Hood Saved Your Finances. Now, I must say that post was amazing. So we'll make sure that we link it, in the show notes. But can you explain to our listeners what you actually meant by this?
Yeah, so we actually got a house with no mortgage, and it's in what people would call, I don't know how to say this, nice, in a politically
The
correct way.
hood.
The hood,
In the hood. But it's hard to
okay.
say because I really love where I live now. I mean, it has grown on me, and the suburbs are nice. The swanky suburbs are wonderful, but I really like where we live, which is in the hood. A little bit more character stuff going on, but yeah, that's what we
Right.
did. So we were done. I mean, we made a commitment. We're done with debt, and that even meant for a house for us. So, when we said that we were done with debt, that was it. We didn't make exceptions and say, well, the house. Some people do make those exceptions. Some people do make those exceptions for their home or big ticket items, but we're done. So, we believe that was really the only way we could get a home because we had cut off that avenue of debt.
And that's what I love so much. It doesn't matter what others think, what they may say. And of course, we can't tell you how many times couples buy a larger home because they're pregnant. They find out they have another child on the way and they feel like they can't do with the 3-bedroom home. So in your case, you were gifted the home debt free? How did that work?
Yeah, so actually a relative of ours passed away, and the relative that was due to get it didn't want it, and because of the area. And so we took it, and we're like, okay, it's in the hood, but we've made it work, and it's really been great. I like where we live. I like being plugged into the community. We're really active in the community. We can, we help, we volunteer. So it's been a win-win situation for us,
Awesome.
really.
So you guys are thinking way out the box. You said, okay, let's fix this whole rent mortgage situation. Let's go get us a debt-free house in the hood. Now that you're in this new place, what are some things that you all did to tackle this $110,000 worth of debt? What are some everyday things that you all had to cut back on or increase your income? What types of things did you do to knock out this debt?
One thing that we did was definitely budget. Like Dave Ramsey says, if you are listeners of Dave Ramsey, you know that he says you have to make a budget. So we agreed on where the little money that we did have, we agreed where it would go. And just like, people report when they do their debt-free scream, it's like when you make that decision, all of a sudden you are open to seeing where more money can come in. So just things occurred to me that had never occurred to me before because we had a goal. So, I mean, I did everything from like selling stuff on eBay and Craigslist, and then I kind of pressed into my software consulting more, and I just got more contracts. And I mean, it was really, I don't want to say magical because I don't believe in magic, but it was just, I would say, miraculous. We'll put it like that. How the excess cash flow was so abundant that sometimes we were paying $2,000 and $3,000 a month on debt, and that's in addition to our regular bills, groceries, utilities. So yeah, when we made the budget and we had a vision for what we want to do, the money appeared and it came in, and it hasn't stopped. So I'm really grateful for that process and for the program that Dave Ramsey does recommend people follow.
Now, we've heard, I'll say, a lot of excuses from people over the years as to why they can't get out of debt. They don't make enough, they have kids, blah, blah, blah. How did you ignore all that, stay focused despite everything that's going on in your life to get completely debt free?
That's a great question. It was literally a war. And for me, my husband's really laid back and he kind of goes with the flow. But for me, I like nice things. You're just used to status and just a certain way of living. So for me, I had to really kind of war in my mind. I am, we're Christians, so we made sure that we would read, daily scriptures around financial prudence. I had to build up a network of friends, who believed in the same thing, who were going towards the same goals. I had to kind of not hang out with the people who want to, when you got depressed, you go shopping or you eat out. That I had to change my circle a little bit. And then I really did listen to religiously the Dave Ramsey podcast, because there'd be days I'd be working, I'm tired, I just want to go to the store and get like a cute lip gloss or something. But just listening and keeping my brain filled with that goal before me really helped. And in terms of like the excuses, when we made the decision to be debt free, we had one small income. And I say small, my husband, he works for the post office and he's compensated very well there, but it was small because we had so much debt eating into it. But we had one income, and though, just numbers wise, it didn't work. The key for us was just to make the decision. And when we made the decision, everything else came came into place. So, don't look at all your circumstances. Just make up your mind. And if you make up your
Absolutely.
mind, where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, how long did the process take for you, Bo?
Well, so again, because we went back and forth and got debt, and we were in debt for we've been married for 10 years as of last month. So most of our marriage,
Congrats.
we had been, thank you, we had been in debt. So going back and forth, it took us like 9 years, but probably the last 3 years, we were the most intense. So probably the last 3 years, we paid off about 30 or 40,000. So in that small compacted period of time. But like I said, over the 9 years, we went back and forth about, did we really want to be debt free?
Now that you all are debt free, have you noticed a difference in your marriage?
I could say yes. I think the teamwork, we just got used to like working as a team and updating each other on the numbers. So yeah, it's like now when he comes home and like if we've had a payday or, I got a big contract or something, there's more for us to talk about and dream about, because it's not just like, don't talk about a vacation. Don't talk about this or don't talk about that. We don't have the money. There's more for us to talk and dream about. We talk about like my husband wants to start real estate investing, which we can now do since we're debt free. There are vacations.
I like your husband. I think that's a great idea. Somebody needs to convince my wife of the same thing.
And there's less stress. I mean, there's definitely less stress. There's really not much to fight about because there is enough to go around. If the dishwasher breaks, we can fix it. There's nothing competing for the money.
Now, I want to go back to your post, and I'm going to mention that again. The link to her particular post will be in the show notes. How living in the hood saved your finances. Now, what are you and your husband both doing now in order to build wealth? I read something about the real estate, but where you're choosing to buy.
Yeah. So that's actually a great question. So in terms of, that's our next goal, because when we paid off our debt, we're kind of like, okay, what to do next? And Dave Ramsey does have some great next steps to follow. So we're almost done building our 3 to 6 month emergency fund, which is really exciting. We've never saved this much in our life. And then since we had a lot of debt, we were a little bit behind on retirement funding our retirement. So we're looking forward to like maxing that out every year, definitely, because that's a way for you to make money and you don't have to necessarily break your back. You just put it in there and let the market do its thing. And then the other thing is definitely real estate. And we are really vested in our community. So we would like to, because we're committed to not having mortgages, we can buy real estate and hold on to it for 10 or 15 years. We don't have to buy and flip and sell because of, the market where we are now, it's not really conducive to that. We're okay with like buying debt free and then renting out and providing homes for good families to come into the neighborhood.
I absolutely love that.
Me too.
So maybe I might consider real estate again.
Wait, hold up. Are we recording this? Say that again?
Yeah. I love that.
Now,
see, we had a bad deal. Okay. Tell the truth.
Okay.
Tell the truth.
Fine. Listen, America, listen. Okay. Here's why Ty is so hesitant, because as some of you know, we got out of debt and then we ended up back in debt because we made a bad choice when it came to real estate. We tried to flip like they do on TV.
Yeah.
And we got the house ready right when the market crashed. Right. So we had to hold on to that thing for almost like another year where we were paying 2 mortgages, 2 everything, because we had our primary residence and now we had this other property. So Ty's a little gun shy.
I am.
Just a little bit.
I am. But I would consider, what did I tell you? As long as we can pay it with cash. Hey, we can do that.
So tell me about that, Aja. Let's not let that go. How is it possible? Is it possible to pick up some real estate property in cash?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the key is if you close off the door in your mind to debt, that's the only way it can come to you. It happened to us with our first house, so we're confident that it can happen with 3 or 4 other houses if it had to. So again, if you just make up your mind like debt is not going to be in the equation, then that's the only way you'll accomplish it. So I would say yes. There are many people who really do investing with cash.
Are you all planning on landlording yourself, or are you thinking about getting a property manager?
We'll probably have a property manager. Yeah, I think that'll probably be, because we're kind of like set it and forget it type of people. That's why the stock market is really appealing to us, and real estate is appealing if we can get someone to help us out. So.
Now, doesn't it feel good to be debt free, that you can even have these conversations with your husband and you all can make dreams together that can actually turn into reality? Isn't that like part of the benefits of working and striving? You all went through this for 9 years, scrapping and fighting and clawing your way out of debt to be able to have conversations like this. How does that feel?
The feeling of contentment that I have is so amazing right now. I mean, it's just really, I think almost every night when we go to bed, we pray and everything, but I have this conversation so often, at least a few times a week. I'm like, Calvin, aren't you so glad we don't have a mortgage? And he's just like, yes, like we really think about it often, like how blessed we are to be able to live. Like if I want to stop working, I want to take a 3-month sabbatical to be with my kids, or just I want to rest, I can do that. And I have done that.
Absolutely. Now, the question I have for you is, how does a debt-free house feel? Does it look different? Do you start to love it more and more every day? Tell me about that feeling.
Yeah, I can imagine that you hate it less. And we're in a situation where we have an older home. So it's nice that we can go through room by room. We just finished one of the bathrooms, and it's taken us some time, and that's okay because we're using cash. And it's nice to go room by room when you have time, no stress, no worries, and just get it done at your own pace. Life is just that less stressful. And I think it makes for better relationships between your kids and your husband, your marriage, and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. As some of you all may know, we are trying to pay off our mortgage. So we are in hustle season mode, trying to find cash and do whatever odds and end jobs to pay at this debt. And I told Talent, I said, when this house is paid for, I don't think I want to ever move. Like, this house looks great to me. Okay. We will be okay.
How did you involve your 2 daughters in the process?
Yes, so we spend a lot of time in the car together, and that's when I would plug in my iPhone and pull up my Dave Ramsey app, and we would on our commutes back and forth from school, we would when they were in school, we would listen to Dave Ramsey, and we would talk about like what it would be like when we were debt free, and how mommy and daddy made mistakes and we got loans for college, and how they would never do the same thing. And it's funny because we'd be out somewhere and maybe I'm short on cash, and your kids, they always carry cash, they're ready to buy stuff, and I'm like, hey, give me $5 when we get home. You're gonna be in debt, mommy, you'll be in debt.
Nice.
So yeah, they definitely picked up on it. And when we paid off our last bill, we told them, hey, we paid off all our bills, we're debt free. And so they were happy, and it was a celebratory time. So they were definitely involved, and they knew what the budgeting was about, and so they were definitely involved, and they knew what we were trying to accomplish.
Now take us to that day where you all paid off your last bill. What was it like?
Yeah, so the last bill was one of my husband's student loans, and it was actually great because the bill was like $12,000, and you never hear about student loans getting forgiven. It just does not happen. And he had the loan through the college itself, so it wasn't like a Sallie Mae or a federal loan. And we I just off of a hunch, I was like, let me just call and see if they'll just let us pay the principal, which was like around $3,000. And we were like, if we just give you $3,000, will you forgive the interest? And they're like, okay.
Just a phone call.
Just a phone call.
Yeah, just a phone call. And they sent us paperwork confirming that they would accept the arrangement. And I mean, we were free. It was like, it just happened so quickly. We expected it to take a little bit longer because the balance was higher, but they just accelerated it because they were like, okay, we'll just take the principal. And this was a really old loan, almost like 12 or 13 years old. So we were really thankful for that.
Aja, there's somebody listening right now who has been going back and forth like you and your husband did, getting out of debt, got back into debt. I want to get out of debt. And they're not motivated right now. They're actually a little bit discouraged. If you could sit down with them one-on-one, you made it to the finish line. You fought your way out.
Oh my
What type of words of encouragement would you give them?
I would say just imagine yourself if you had no bills. All of your expenses were taken care of. You could literally do anything in the world that you enjoy. I like homeschooling my kids. We have fun. I wanted to play the piano for my church. Well, it takes time to learn that and do lessons. I do that. I want to travel. We can do that. I mean, all the things that you want to do, they're really only a decision away. So if you want to write, there are people who want to go into really, artistic fields, or they want to work with youth and, things they want to do, but they can't because in the back of their mind, master checkbook is right there saying what you can and cannot do. So I would just encourage you to dare to dream about what your life could look like if you had the finances to pursue your passions. And if you could just take a moment in time and see see that and envision that, you'll have everything that you need to make that decision, because someone is on the other side of that decision waiting for you to get in place.
Please tell us a little bit about the mission of your site, principlesofincrease.com.
Sure. So that's a place where I just kind of write and post musings about really principles that lead you to experience increase in every area of your life, in your faith, your walk with God, your finances, your relationships, just things that I've noticed that I either did or didn't do in my life that brought me to, where we are now. So I really talk about different principles about, frugality, taking risk, entrepreneurship, leadership, just relations with family and relatives. So all those good things, there's some underlying principles that just, they undergird how your life is going to turn out. So I like to talk about those things and just underscore them, make people aware that, you are the person who creates your destiny. You don't have to be a victim of circumstance. There are some laws and rules that govern the world as we know it, that if you stay on top of them and you know what they are, you can live victoriously.
If our listeners wanted to connect with you on social media, how would they find you?
Sure. So principlesofincrease.com is where I blog. And then I'm at facebook.com/principlesofincrease. And then I'm also on Pinterest and Twitter. And my handle there is Increase Laws with an S.
Aja, your story is phenomenal.
Great.
It fired me up. I'm ready to buy me some real estate.
Cash, right.
Cash only.
Cash.
We just want to say thanks for coming on and inspiring us all to become debt free.
Thank you so much, Aja.
Thanks for having me, guys.
There it is, man. Another fantastic debt free story with a little twist.
Yeah, it just goes to show you that there's no excuse. No matter how much money you're making, where you live, you can be rich.
Come on now.
And when I'm
how many
saying
of y'all
rich,
willing to move to the hood to get debt free, huh?
Right. She's rich in so many ways.
Yeah, so many ways.
She's debt free. Did you hear the contentment, the peace in her voice as well?
Man, my hat's off to them,
She
because
can choose.
they're in a place that we all want to be.
Absolutely. She can choose, like she said, to go on a vacation or to take this trip, go here and there, buy this. That's wonderful.
But think about that. Think about what I just said. They're in a place where a lot of people think they don't want to be, i.e. the neighborhood.
It's powerful.
But they're in the place that we really all want to be. They're debt free and
they're
at
changing.
peace. Yeah.
They're changing their surrounding. Instead of running away from it, they're embracing it.
Yeah, and they love it.
They're working with the community. They're praying in the schools.
Yeah.
Like, that's powerful.
It's life changing to become debt free, because you know what? It's not just about you. When you become debt free, you can affect your whole community.
Absolutely.
You can do big things when you get out of debt. That's why we push this so hard, people. It's 2015. It's time out for that debt stuff. That's over with. It's time to be debt free. Come on. Get fired up. Get out of debt today.
Pound hustle season.
Let's go. So that wraps it up for another edition of the His and Her Money Show.
Don't forget to visit us over on our website, hisandhermoney.com, where we post weekly articles and posts to help you manage your money and win with your finances.
And if you want to see us, catch us on YouTube. We post there on a regular basis. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Well, here it is. No matter where you are on the road to financial freedom, the key is to start now
and finish strong.
Thanks for tuning in to the His and Her Money Show. For more information on how to win with your finances, be sure to visit www.hisandhermoney.com.